Good morning, everybody. I think just waiting for a couple of people to join us, but we're going to make a start. Hopefully you can hear and see me. We've got Ben on the call as well from Sicon, and Ben is going to run through the latest features in Sicon CRM. So if you've not seen the product before, it's a great opportunity to have a look at that. And obviously see some of the new things that are coming into the product, which is just constantly being developed at the moment. Obviously, any questions, feel free to pop them in the chat as we go through, and we'll try and answer them towards the end of the session. Just to let you know as well, we are recording it, and we will send out a copy of the presentation or the webinar afterwards. So if you want to share that internally or with anybody else, you can do. So I guess without any further ado, I'll pass you over to Ben.
Brilliant. Thank you, Richard. So as Richard mentioned, so my name's Ben. I'm the account manager here at Sicon. I believe a few of you guys are aware of Sicon or are currently using the some of our modules. So to give you a bit of background, I mean, we've been developing Sage add-ons specifically for Sage 200 for the last 20 years. So we're very, very tightly integrated into the platform. The session today, we've got an hour scheduled. It may not take that long, so we'll definitely have some time at the end for some questions. So it'd be great if you've got any feedback or any questions that I'd be more than happy to answer. By the end of the session, there's three things that kind of it'd be useful for you guys to kind of get out of it. So the first one is, what are the benefits of Sicon CRM? Some of you guys are using CRM platforms already. Some are using Sage CRM, and I know that one or two of you are currently looking into Sicon CRM. The other is the value of a fully integrated systems. I know this is almost going to teach you guys to suck eggs, but with so many different platforms out there, especially within the CRM space, they do tend to be siloed. So we're going to look at what's the actual benefit of using a CRM system within Sage. The third one is tips for actually managing a proactive sales process. So what we're seeing at the moment is lots of our customers are still using paper. There's no visibility across team opportunities. It tends to be really, really reactive. So the companies that we're speaking with are reporting our opportunities once a month. They're chasing, the sales guys for updates. And obviously, finally, I think probably one of the biggest thing is that if you don't have all of the information sitting within a single database, and people aren't using Sage, it means that the quality of your data is obviously compromised, and then you're actually unable to make better business decisions. So the first thing I'm going to do is just share my screen and give you a brief introduction into the product. Great. So what we have here is obviously an environment all of you will be familiar with. So we're in Sage 200, and on the left-hand side here, you'll actually have a series of different modules. Now, ours will probably look slightly different to yourselves. So we've got everything from Sicon turned on, and you can actually have a look at the different modules that we tend to focus on. So again, we are just focusing on Sicon CRM at the moment. But as I said, we build modules, for Sage 200 as a whole, and it covers everything from construction to works order processing, and especially manufacturing as well. And the reason that's important is because we actually tie the CRM elements into all of those different modules. So for you as a company, it means that you're going to have visibility across all the different elements of your business. So I think firstly, just to kind of touch on the key benefits before I go into the platform itself. What we've really done here, and I actually come from a company called Salesforce that a few of you may have heard of. We tended to focus solely on CRM, but what we're doing here at Sicon is that we've really listened to our customers. We're saying, look, we're not trying to kind of reinvent the wheel here. We're not trying to build out a product that's full of features and compete with the likes of the big CRM companies. But what we're doing is we're solely focused on a really, really tight integration. So that means that you won't know where Sage finishes and Sicon starts. And that's really important, because when you've got the tight integration, it means that all of your data is in one place and you can make the better decisions off the back of that. So what we focus as a company is on the visibility across departments. So you have what we call a single source of truth. So all of the information is within the system. we're not, you know, adding and taking information from different databases where that's where you tend to come across issues or errors. Um, the importance of accurate forecasting. So if everyone's using the same platform, all of your information is in the same place, it means that there's um, greater accountability across the sales teams and sales managers. And again, you can make better decisions off the back of that. Um, I think probably the most important thing is, and it's one thing that we hear a lot, it's about being proactive. So rather than you having to focus on opportunities, working out where things are, who's focusing on what, who's working on what, we're not duplicating work. We're allowing you guys to focus on growth. So we're automating the really basic manual elements, bringing everything into one place, and then you can focus on growing the company. Where are the gaps? What do we need to focus on to build the business? So just before I jump in, there's going to be two elements. I'm going to show you how it looks within Sage 200, and then I'm going to go over to our browser version of the CRM. So again, everything's the same. It's just simply a different user interface. Brilliant. So what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to scroll down on the left-hand side, and we're going to go down to Sicon CRM. So when you guys actually have access to this, it will simply just appear as a separate module. The first thing to really focus on is the companies. So again, we're using a single database. So we're not having to import or export data. So any supplier information or any information your company got within Sage, we can simply use that within the CRM. So there's not a huge implementation process at all. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a look at this and we're going to have a look at our companies. So on the left hand side, we've got all of our different companies. Usually what I would do is, as someone who works in sales, I'm responsible for a certain number of companies. So what we can do is we can simply filter those out by account manager or the ones that I personally look after. If you're a sales manager or heading up an organization, this will give you visibility into all of the different companies that you manage. What we can do is we're going to take a look at a company called AB Cookers. Now, the success of any CRM platform is based on the quality of the information in there. So I would recommend that if you are currently using a CRM platform or you're looking into Sicon CRM, to really focus on making sure that the information is accurate. And the guys at EBS will be more than happy to help you with that. So the key things that we have here is we've got the address information, where are they based? If it's a company perhaps that have different locations, again we can cater for that. We've got the contact information and any summary notes. So again, this is perhaps if you're onboarding new people, you can again flatten that learning curve because you've got all of the information in one place. The second part here is, again, this really comes down to the setup. So things like these analysis fields that we've put together. So every single business is different. So I think the way that you segment your companies is it's going to be completely individual, but the methodology stays the same. So for us, we've got company types, which is a supplier. It could be a customer, it could be a prospect. I think just having those fields is really important from the from the beginning to establish, okay, how are we going to work out which companies to focus on? How are we going to kind of divvy them up amongst the salespeople? How do you want to segment them? And essentially, the reason you want to do that is because when you've set up the information, you're using the correct fields, that then allows you to pull reports and again make those better business decisions. The other thing here, so we've got is people. So this is again, it's a really important process. We were speaking with a company a couple of weeks ago saying that they've got thousands and thousands of contacts associated with different companies, but they've got no idea who's actually still working in the organization. I would say that's probably one of the first places to start. So you can use free tools such as hunter.io, and that'll allow you to simply just work out, are these email addresses still correct? You can simply do an export from Sage, work out which ones are bouncing, which ones we need to get rid of, and you can simply import it back into the platform. And what that will do is allow you to have a really clean data set and then give all of the everything that the salespeople need to then actually go off those particular prospects. So what we've got here is we've got Alan Black, for example. we've got current employee. We can then obviously filter that down into, are they a prospect? Is this my key contact? Where's Alan based? I think within the CRM space, probably the most important bit is managing the communications that you have with that person. I'll go through that in just a moment. But making sure that you have as much information within the system as possible to allow everyone to have visibility on how you interact with them, what the next steps are, and obviously what the communication preferences are. So one of the key things here, and it's going to be a lot more probably important on the individual level or the opportunity level, is emails. So you can simply drag and drop emails into the platform. So again, when you're coming into an organization, if you want to do a review, if you want to work out kind of where things are going or the communications you've had, simply drag and drop, and everyone's then got visibility who uses Sicon CRM into the types of conversations. Perhaps there's some issues, perhaps you're working on an opportunity that needs to progress. It again allows for that greater visibility, so you're not relying on knowledge silos throughout the company. So once we have a company set up, we're then going to look into the people. So let's just take a look at Will. So again, this is an area that it's really important to make sure you guys keep up to date. And again, there's plenty of ways that we can kind of walk you through of how to do that. But again, we've got all of the basic information, such as where's Will based, his communication info, and also emails. This is where it starts to become, obviously, again, quite important, because this is what we're going to use to progress opportunities or create opportunities, which is actually where we spend most of our time within the CRM system. So the way that it would work is, once we've got our companies and our people set up and we've got all the information that's correct, we're then going to go into opportunities. So this is just demo data, so I apologize, there's not too much there. But essentially the way that this will work is, again, every single organization is different. We have, for each opportunity, it's something that we're working on. So it could be we're selling a specific product or a service. We've got the company that it's associated with. So who are we selling to? We're always selling to a person, but not just selling to a company. So there's always going to be a person attached, which is why you need to have the company and also the correct person in there. We're then going to have a summary. So what are we selling? What is the background? Personally, I like to have discovery information about, what are the, based on the conversations we've had, what are they currently doing? Is this something that, us as a company wants to focus on? Based on the problems that they have, are we able to fulfill those? We've also got the stage. This again is really important. So every company that I've personally worked for uses different stages. So we've simply just set up some fairly basic ones at the moment. So lead, qualified, is it closed won, closed lost? But depending on your own sales process, we can actually tailor those stages to how you're currently working. I think the stage element is actually quite important, because it means that, again, you're focusing on, okay, how do I take this opportunity through these different stages? And I'll show you how that works in just a moment. But ideally, you want to take them from right at the very beginning of the process, which is a lead, and take them all the way through to closed won, which is obviously you've won the opportunity. But again, you really want to make sure you monitor that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a look at Euro trading account. So again, the opportunity is with this particular company. We've got information here as to who we're actually selling to. Again, we always want to sell to a person. We can assign it to a team. I typically don't tend to use that so much, but again, every business is different. And if we go to edit, I've got the ability here to start forecasting. Again, this is a really key bit. So when do I think that this will particularly, when is this going to come into the organization? When are we looking to actually close this particular sale? I think obviously if you guys are using multi-currency, we've got the ability to add that within here as well. Also things, typical things, which is opportunity value, cost value as well. I'll go into this in a little bit more detail in just a moment, but this is where you start to look into the benefits of having everything within a single platform. So when we look at the quotes and the orders for this, if you have stock items or services within Sage, we can start to look at, based on the opportunity value, there's a cost value, what kind of margin are we making out of it? And again, you've got complete visibility in real time as to how you're performing. Now, as someone within sales, I want to make sure that every time I'm speaking with a prospect, so let's just take Euro trading as an example. I'm speaking with, let's just say, James Dinan, for example. I want to make sure that every time I go into this, because I'm probably going to be working on 15 to 20 opportunities at any given time, that whenever I'm having a conversation with them, I'm simply able to go into the opportunity itself, work out all the communications that I've had with that person, um, drag and drop those emails in real time into here. And it then allows me to work out, okay, so based on where we are at the moment, how many times have I communicated with this person? What needs to be done? Am I communicating enough? Is this likely to actually close? If we're forecasting an opportunity to close in, let's say, a month, and our sales cycle is typically 6 months long, and there's not particularly many activities such as emails or conversations going on, I know that realistically, we're not communicating enough for this to actually close. Or actually, I think probably more importantly, if you have a sales manager or a head of an organization, they can go in and say, well, look, us as a business, we need to actually start forecasting to work out what kind of money is coming into the organization at any given time. Realistically, based on the forecast, someone's telling me that this particular opportunity is going to close. We're going to win this deal, but there's no real communication. What can I do proactively to go into here and start to engage with that conversation to either say it's going to come in, or let's just rule it out and focus our time somewhere else? If I just take a look at the attachment, so the same way that the emails work, that you just simply drag and drop an email into the platform, we can do that with attachments. Again, we've been speaking with several companies that are looking, perhaps they use CAD designs, perhaps there's certain documents about their sales process or products. Again, it's about putting all of that information into a single place. You can simply drag and drop it into the platform. Everyone's then got visibility. So when I'm working on this particular opportunity, I've got all of the communications, I've got all of the documents and things that are required to progress this opportunity. And again, everyone's got visibility. And I think even just simple user cases, which is, if someone's off ill, it means that things don't stop. We're not grinding to a halt. Someone else can pick this up. We've got all of the information in one place. Now, what we can do here is, again, one thing that I find really useful. Again, it gives employees autonomy. So if you do use stock items, or if you have set up particular services that you guys are selling, we're able to actually create a new quote and attach it to that. So what that does is it allows you to work out perhaps some requirements for stock. Are we selling particular items that we don't have in stock? Again, that feeds into the different modules that we can cover perhaps on another day. But also for things for the services. So you can take a step back and say, look, okay, well, at the moment as a business, we're focusing on these particular products. This is where there's interest. Do we want to kind of double down on that? Do we want to push this? Where are the opportunities for perhaps some marketing campaigns? Perhaps if we are focusing on particular products or services that there aren't many ongoing quotes for. Again, it's all about being proactive and seeing what are we selling. The whole idea here is to have that greater visibility so we can make better business decisions. So I'm going to come out of the opportunity itself. And we've spoken a lot about, again, being proactive, but how do we do that? So we've got the people, we've got all of the correct information. We've got the companies, again, the companies that are associated with the people. We're always focusing on an end user, so we want to make sure that that's up to date. We've then got the opportunities. So when we've got all of that information, an opportunity is something that obviously we're selling. We want to make sure we're progressing it from a new lead all the way through to something that we've won or lost. In order to progress those, we want to use tasks. And again, everything is fully integrated here. So if we take a look at our tasks, so on the top left-hand corner just here, we've got our opportunities and we're going to have tasks that are assigned to that. So a task is anything. It could be a phone call, it could be an email, it could be a reminder to follow up with someone, perhaps someone that we haven't spoken to in some time. And what we do is I personally would recommend going into an opportunity. So if we just take Abbey Retail maybe. I've got all of the information that we covered. So we've got the activity, so everything that we've added, whether it's emails or perhaps phone calls. We then have the tasks. So these are the things that we need to do in order to progress the opportunity. So I think I personally sometimes use things like Trello. I'm quite bad sometimes, with just pen and paper, writing. Right, I need to give this person a call. I need to find out about um, a product that perhaps we're selling. Maybe there's a slight issue or queries that are coming in. I would tend to really try and focus on the task. So again, we're going to assign it to an opportunity, and this is stuff that we have to do. So we've got, again, our stages, we've got the priorities, and we've also got the assigned employees. So what this allows us to do is, for me as an individual, I can come into my CRM platform. I know where I need to spend my time. So rather than just being reactive, sitting within Outlook all day, waiting for things to come in, I can say, right, I'm going to set a task. I'll show you how to do that in just a moment. So in 2 weeks' time, I need to give this person a call, or I've just gone through my opportunities and we need to find out this information, or perhaps I need to speak with that person because I'm not quite sure on something. You then create a task to follow up, and that allows you to have a single focus on how do we progress the opportunity. I think one of the really useful things as well, especially if you've got like a sales manager, because you now have complete visibility on all of your opportunities, all of your activity. It then allows them to actually review the opportunities and say, well, we've got Steve, for example, which is our sales manager here at Sicon. He can go through my opportunities and say, well, okay, there's not much activity here, or actually there's some gaps based on the conversations you've had. You need to find this out, or perhaps give this person a call. He can create a task for me and assign it to myself. So again, when I go into CRM, which is where I spend most of my time, I know exactly what I need to do. And it's, we're not relying on, phone calls or team calls or emails going back and forth. We keep everything in one area. Again, I can just focus on my role, which is to progress and find new opportunities. So just to give you an example, we can have a summary, which is to speak with IT manager, RE, let's just say API access. We're then going to want it again to assign it to that person. We then want to have a due date. So I can set this for the future. I would say just again try and be as proactive as possible, or even just keep track of things within this area. I tend to set things for a week, 2 weeks. If I've had perhaps a demo with someone, I will say, right, I'm going to create a task for myself just here, or to speak with an individual, create it for in a week's time, and then I'll actually follow up with them. And then we can simply save that if we specify the task type. So this one is going to be, I've said that I need to speak with so-and-so, so it's going to be a phone call. And I'm going to save that. So then when I come into the system, I've got a complete overview of everything that needs to be done. Now, again, what that will give you is the ability to have a single view of everything that's going on. So what we've got here is a series of, this is actually a dashboard that we've built out based on all the things that we've covered so far, which is opportunities, tasks, and obviously our forecast. So, and that's based off of the opportunity value. So on the right hand side, just here, we've got my target. Again, this is demo data because this is relatively low, but it allows us again to track in real time how we're performing. So the activity drives the opportunity. It's kind of what we say. So the more activity, the more opportunities you're going to generate. And obviously, if we're focusing on those and we're being proactive with the tasks, the more likely we are to close and actually win that particular deal. If that's not the case, we've got all of the information in one place. We can again be proactive. What's not going well? What can we change? What can we test? Sometimes it may just be a case of trial and error. So what we've got here is we've got our opportunities. That's based on the values that we've created from our opportunities just here, and perhaps the items that we're selling or the services. We've then got the invoices that we've received, the orders. And again, it's got a complete visibility on where we are. And I keep saying this word visibility, but that's the key point here. It's about giving everyone the information to make these decisions. Now, you may have noticed we've got cases here on the bottom left-hand corner. I won't spend too much time on that. Um, I personally tend to focus on tasks, and it's going to depend on each company of how you'd like to work. But typically, if there's we're going through the sales process, and again, it depends on how long that sales cycle is. Perhaps there's some things that we need to do or cases that we need to pull other members of the team in. So whether it's a pre-sales person, whether it's a product person that we need to pull into the conversation, or perhaps we are selling something and there's an issue with the quality, we can create a case in the same way as that we create a task, assign it to someone, and again, we're running this from the opportunity. So within the opportunity, we have all of the cases, tasks, everything that we need to do to take this from the very early stages to winning this opportunity. I just want to pause for breath there. Has anyone got any questions so far? So we've got the show conversation tab. You guys can just enter any questions and let me know if you've got any. Happy to go through those. So that's a no for now. So happy to answer any at the end of the session. The second piece really here then is the browser access. So we've gone through Sage, which I think most of you will be very familiar with. Again, the most important bit is we're using a single database. What we're doing here is at Sicon, we recognize that not everyone wants to work in Sage, especially when it comes to the sales teams, myself included. I've been with Sicon for 7 months now, and it has been a really steep learning curve, just learning to use Sage and the user interface. But what it allows you to do is, especially with CRM, we want as many people using it as possible, because again, the more information we've got and the more we're tracking stuff, the more efficient that we can be. And some of the key bits of feedback that we've had is that, well, actually, I don't want to be in Sage all the time. As a salesperson, I don't need to be. What we can do is we can give them access to the browser, and all of the information is exactly the same. We're not having to set up different platforms here, but it provides you with a really easy to access user interface via any browser. We've got the same information here, and it's going to present the same information. So what we've got here is our tasks, we've got our cases, and we've also got our opportunities. Now you can access this via browser, which I tend to do. We also have a mobile app, which I'm sure Richard and team can kind of share information with you. But what it allows you to do is, depending on how each individual works, we're providing them with all of the tools to input all of the information and track how they're performing, what they need to be doing on any device. And that's really, really important. I think probably one of the most, or some of the biggest frustrations sometimes is perhaps going out to a sales meeting. Perhaps it doesn't happen as much anymore, but being out on the road or on the train, and we have to be in the office to access Sage. We don't need to do that anymore. We can simply give the guys access to the browser or the mobile app, and they can keep on top of their opportunities and the tasks that they need to be doing. So just to give you an overview, we've got our forecast by month just here at the top, and this is based off the value of these opportunities just here. So if we look at our coffee machine opportunity, as you can see, the format is exactly the same as it is in Sage. just as simply a different user interface. So we've got our details here, when it's due to come in, currency, the opportunity value, and we've also got our tasks. Now, there's not too much information just here, but it's things that I need to do based on progressing this opportunity. So you might notice just here we've got this in red, which is the due start date. If it's in red, it means it's overdue. So it's a visual warning that I need to actually follow up on this and behind. Again, one of the things I really want to emphasize is being able to drag and drop emails into the system, because it is really important to just make sure you're following up. You're not having to spend time in your inbox looking to see what did we discuss, where do we need to spend our time, is anything that I've missed. Everything is in one place. Um, Based on the feedback that we've had, one of the key bits here is the ability in real time to create quotes and orders on the fly. So you don't have to be sending emails or giving someone a call within the office to say, can you create a quote for so and so? We're giving everyone with access the ability to create their own quotes. We're giving them autonomy, and they can do that within the browser or via the app. And all we'd simply do is just create it from here. Whether it's a new sales order, a new return, and it will work in exactly the same way. What we can then do is, if you've got like a price book or a list of stock items or services, we simply can enter those, and we can actually send it, depending on your access, to a prospect. So they've got all the information they need to make a decision. I think just finally, one of the newer features that we've now added is the ability to, based on your tasks and things you need to be following up on, is the calendar. So rather than simply just looking at a list of things that I need to do, I can start to be proactive on, based on kind of where my opportunities are, or the tasks that are kind of assigned to me. um, I can then start looking at, okay, so which days do I need to be doing these? Where do I focus my time on? And again, everyone's got visibility on this. Everyone knows, what Ben needs to be doing, where he needs to be spending his time. And because we have the opportunity value and the targets sitting in one single place, that means that if I'm not hitting target, or my opportunities aren't reaching that target, what do I need to be doing? Do I need to be generating more opportunities? How do I do that? Well, I've now got a list of all of the companies that's associated to me or within the organization. I've got an accurate list of all the people. That's where I want to be focusing and spending my time. So we've just got a question from Darren. So can I add my own fields? Yes, absolutely. So it depends on the fields that you want to add. There are, what we're doing here is we're providing you with a platform that you can configure, not code. So we're not providing a bespoke solution, but absolutely, you can have your own fields, and you'd simply do that within the platform. So you're not having to go back to a developer. It's simply a case of, if we go to kind of utilities, you can set that within the settings. So, for example, if you've got a particular field, such as like a prospect, or if there's anything you'd like to monitor, you can create those particular ones. Any other questions? No? Okay. So I think, just to kind of recap, and I know today's session's been slightly shorter. Oh, okay, we've got another one, just a moment. Um, the key things that we have focused on is really just the importance of keeping all of your information in one place, using a single database, so all of your information is accurate and accessible in real time. Um, Also, the ability to give people autonomy and the right tools to do their job. We're not having to rely on certain individuals for quotes, orders. They've got everything they need. And I think probably one of the most important aspects from the business perspective is that you have the ability to see what's going on in the organization. Are we hitting target? Are we going to hit target? What's the likelihood of closing these deals and bringing revenue into the business? And by using this kind of process, it allows you to focus on growing your business, as opposed to chasing and being reactive. So brilliant. So I think if we head on to the questions, so the first one from Richard is, does the calendar link to Outlook? It doesn't link to Outlook. It may be something that we look at in the future. For us, we just wanted to focus on the tasks and things that we need to be doing, perhaps not necessarily the meetings. Darren has said tasks do not need to be just against opportunities. No, they absolutely don't need to be. So tasks can be created for anything. Again, it depends on how you want to work, but my personal methodology is that the thing that we need to focus on is the opportunities. So if my sole focus is generating revenue and bringing that into the business, I do that from an opportunity. So I want to focus all of my time on progressing the opportunities. Now there may be some things where perhaps we're just engaging and making sure that we keep in touch with people, and it's not associated with that. So you can create a task against a contact, which might be to give them a call. So from Kevin, we've got, can you schedule appointments, etc. in the calendar? So that would be a task, Kevin. So it would be creating a task where you've got that drop down, which was task type. It could be call, email, it could be meeting. And again, you can actually customize those. So it could be in person or on-site demo. It could be it could be online, or it could be going to visit someone. So in short, yes, you can do that. It's not at the moment linked with Outlook. Any other questions from people? Okay, I think that's pretty much it. So I know again we're slightly ahead of time, but I wanted to kind of keep it short and sweet. So I mean the CRM process isn't particularly complicated. My recommendations is to start simple. Make sure you've got really accurate information within your CRM. Work out and map it to your own sales process. But the simpler you keep it, the more likely you are to make it less complicated to maintain, and obviously bring more people within the organisation using it as well. I think the most important thing or the most important feedback we have is what value can we provide to sales guys? How are we going to encourage them to use the platform? And that's about giving them visibility in the things that they need to do their job. So I think in short, I think Richard will obviously kind of help with the final summary, but more than happy if you guys have got questions. I'm always here. Richard and Darren can share my details. But again, yeah, every business is different, so happy to kind of walk through that in more detail for you. But I hope today's session has been useful.
Brilliant, Ben. Thank you ever so much. I think absolutely. I mean, you've seen there. I think the key thing is the integration into Sage 200 and being able to view everything within 200, but then give the flexibility, obviously, with the web and the mobile apps as well for that remote access. So like I say, it's expandable, but it isn't fully customized. Well, you can't do a bespoke solution in it necessarily, but I think what you get out of the box and with the flexibility of the custom fields and stuff, it seems to be ticking a lot of boxes for a lot of people out there at the moment. Just to answer Emma's question, yes, we will produce. We have recorded it, so we'll send out the link obviously for that as well, so you can share internally. Obviously, if you have any questions in the meantime, feel free to contact either myself, Darren, or even Ben. But thank you very much for joining us today, and look forward to speaking to you soon.
Thanks all.
Thanks, everyone.